Good morning, y'all. Happy Thursday. So, I had a conversation with a family member of mine, and we were talking about their son pretty much. And he was saying, I've done the best that I could. I may not have always been like the best example, but I was there, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And he's part of Gen X. He's actually, him and my mother are actually the same age. He's nothing like her, but they're the same age. So, upon us talking, I was explaining to him that as parents, um, and as children, right? When we come to you guys, um, we are not coming to you to tell you how horrible of a parent you were, right? If we're coming to you, we're trying to salvage whatever we have left of that relationship. And we're simply just trying to tell you, like, hey, I understand that you might have thought that you did the best that you can do, or you might have thought that you did a great job, but there's some things that I was missing, or there's some things that hurt me, right? So I gave him the example of like how whenever I bring certain things to my dad versus when I bring things to my mom, the reception is different. And I also feel like they probably are not going to all admit it, but there's a large amount of guilt there that they carry, and so the minute that you say something, they just immediately snap on you, right? So, like for instance, with my mom, I would tell my mom like one of the things that we had a discourse about whenever when I was still talking to her was how I felt like she would throw money at me and my children, but she never spent time, or she didn't really. It wasn't important to her to spend time. Like I told you guys, she would always use that premise of I'm busy, and so I explained to her one day it was something that was going on that her and my son was supposed to do, and she was like, "I'm going to send you the money for it, and you can just take him." And I was just like, "No, I don't want to take him. He wants you to take him." And so I explained to her, I said, listen, you used to do this to me when I was a kid. I said, and it bothered me really bad. I said, it made me feel like I wasn't important to you. I said, and then when I would bring that up to you, even as a young child, you would cuss me out, right? And she hasn't seen my kids since Christmas, so y'all do the math. But on the contrary to that, with my father, my whenever I've brought things up to my dad, whether it's, hey dad, okay, I'll give you guys an example. When I was 9, my dad moved us to Arizona. And when he first moved us to Arizona, he moved us to the school that we went to was predominantly clear people. And so this was my first experience with racism. And so there was this girl, and she had pretended to be my friend, and she was like, "Oh, she had like the gel pens. I remember the Jelly Roll gel pens. She had gel pens, and she was like, "Oh, you can use them, whatever, whatever, whatever." So we sitting at the table, we coloring, we sharing, or whatever. And she, oh, my nose itching. So we're at the table, we're coloring, whatever. And at some point in the day, she loses these damn gel pens. So she goes home without them. Her parents reach out to the school, and long story short, my name comes up. Nobody ever asked me if I had them. Nobody ever checked my belongings, nothing. And at the time, my daddy was married to this demon that used to abuse me. So I grew up definitely with those parents that believe that teachers don't lie on kids, and that why would they be lying about that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And long story short, I got a punishment that I did not deserve, and I personally believe was just way too extra out for some shit that I did not even do. But nobody checked with me to even see what happened. They just believed this little clear girl. Come to find out, the next day, the little girl comes to school and she tells me like, "Oh, I found my gel pens. They were wherever the fuck they were." And I had explained to her like, "Well, I already got in trouble," and everybody believed her because she was clear and I was the only black kid in the class. And I know there's going to be some people that are going to want to negate my experience, and they're going to be like, "Oh, y'all always make it about race." But no, literally, this particular teacher had it out for me. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, like when you would get daily reports at the end of the school, at the end of the school day, and she would put so much shit on this daily report that wasn't even in my character to do. And for context, remember I told some of you guys that I am a child abuse survivor. So do you really think that I'd be going to school, adding more shit to the list to be abused for when I was already being abused unprovoked? You know what I mean? So long story short, um, I follow like some of those like 90s nostalgia pages and stuff like that on Instagram. and a picture of these gel pens come up, and I go into a full blown fucking panic attack. And I'm like, why is this picture bothering me so bad? And it took me so long to remember what the fuck actually happened and why I was upset by this picture. And so it ends up like the light bulb goes off, and I'm like, oh shit. Okay. So I shoot a text message to my dad, and I send my dad the picture. And I said, hey, Daddy, you may not remember. And I give him the whole story that I just gave you guys. And I said, I'm bringing this to your attention because I've totally forgot about it. But now, all these years later, it's really bothering me. And in all of this, I said, I feel hurt and I feel unprotected because I said, I felt like you just believed everybody over me. You believed things that weren't even in my character. And on top of that, it didn't take much for evil stepmom to have a reason to abuse me. You know what I mean? And then she would do things or make up things about me, and I would get in trouble for shit that I never even did. But still, I have to say that my father never like gaslit me to try to tell me that it didn't happen. He didn't try to say, well, this, that, and the third. He didn't try to excuse it away. He didn't do any of that shit. He said, you know what? I don't remember that incident, but I am so sorry. And I really wish a lot of our parents understood that a lot of the time that's all we're looking for. If we're coming to you guys with problems, it's because we're still trying, or whatever grievances, whatever you want to call them, it's because we're still trying to keep a cult or like maintain some sort of relationship with you all. Whereas with my mom, I could simply just tell my mom, like, hey, mom, I wish you were around more when I was a kid. Mind you, this is somebody that didn't even have custody of me. And she'd be like, you're always trying to tell me how bad of a parent I am. And it's just like, nobody's saying that. Or she'll gaslight me and create scenarios where I'm like, okay, so were we there? Were we both in the same place? 'Cause- So I don't know what it's like to have grown kids. My oldest will be 16 at the end of this year. But one thing that I am not is I am not above apologizing to my children. I don't give a fuck what it was. I don't give a fuck what my intentions were. When my babies come to me, and I got receipts to prove that shit, okay? When my babies come to me and they say, hey, mom, you barked at me about this, or you fussed at me about this, or you said this to me, and when you said this to me, it made me feel this way. And my feelings are still hurt, and I feel like I need to talk to you about it. You know what I say? You know what, baby? I was wrong. I apologize. And if I don't feel like I was wrong or I'm trying to get some understanding, I will say that too. You know what? This was my intention, but I see that it affected you this way. Can you explain to me what I did that hurt you? How fucking hard is that? Like y'all make it seem like it's gonna kill y'all to admit that maybe I didn't really know what I was doing. That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, so I said it to say, like, yes, okay, you probably did think that you put your arm, foot, and fucking whole elbow into your parenting, but there's still going to be something where your children are going to say, hey, that's still fucking with me. And instead of you taking that as an attack, just take it as, you know what? I tried the best and I did the best that I could do. I'm sorry, son, or I'm sorry, daughter. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to figure shit out. My dad was a single father, and his oldest was a teenage girl. Y'all know my dad fucked up a few times. And my dad will always say, like, girl, I'm not a girl. I didn't know how to raise no girl. That's why always tried to have, female figures around you because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just trying to keep you alive and safe. All the nurturing and everything outside of that, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm sorry. How hard is that? That's literally all most of us are asking for. And the sad part about it is, there's a million and one videos like this, and I really just believe that a lot of them kind of refuse to be receptive to that because if they apologize, then it makes it real that they weren't as awesome as they thought they were.